Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting will be conducted in person and as a courtesy via remote means in accordance with applicable law. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public and board members, the meeting hearing will not be suspended or terminated if tech problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless required by law. Welcome, welcome. So would we like to, we have some minutes. Do you mind? We're just gonna do that because if we don't, I lose it.
Yes.
Okay,
Then we're here till midnight.
We have
Oh,
2
it's-
minutes.
I don't want that.
yes, we have 2 sets of minutes and I was hoping that we could please get
Minutes
those.
of October 8th, 2024. I found no changes. I had given my notes to Linda previously. So I'm all set to move them as written.
Second.
Okay.
We Need a roll call?
We do, Sean, because Sean is there and so is Ted.
Ted's up there.
So, Chuck, why don't you start?
Aye. Yeah,
Friend, I.
Yeah, aye. Yeah, aye.
Betsy, I.
Kathleen, aye.
Okay, let's start. Sean,
Aye.
Teddy, you're muted. You're muted there, buddy. Teddy. Ted. Teddy.
Ted could probably abstain from these because he wasn't there.
Okay, you weren't there, so
We're gonna abstain
we're
you.
gonna abstain you, but you gotta unmute if you're gonna talk.
Very good, Terry.
You wanna abstain or are you voting? Ted,
Sorry. Which minutes?
October 8th,
October 8th.
you were not there.
Great. Yes, in the affirmative.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So the next ones,
I'll move the minutes of November 5, 2024 as written.
Second.
all right. All those in favor, Chuck,
Aye.
okay?
Aye, yeah.
Friend, I.
Yeah, aye. No, aye.
Betsy, I.
Kathleen, I.
Sean,
Aye.
Ted? Teddy, I. Teddy's having trouble with that, with this thing. I think, did you say aye, buddy? Okay. Got it. Aye, Teddy, aye. All right.
Very
I heard it
good. I
front.
feel so much better.
He's an aye. Wait.
Madam
Vicky-
Chair, aye.
Vicky, wasn't that an aye?
That was an aye.
Okay, Vicky heard it. All right.
I think we're
I think-
better
I think
hearing.
we have more experience than any of you with understanding that.
Apparently so.
So there you go. All right, let's move on.
Not me to question the chair.
Oh, but you do so often. All right, who's first? Who's on first?
Concom.
Ron comes up.
All right,
I
go
think
for it.
Mary is going to share my slides, I hope.
Mary, you got the slide up there?
There.
Oh, that's pretty.
Right, that's a new one. That's a new cover for me. That's the Del Lorenzo.
Do you recognize it?
Yes,
Yeah, we did.
Okay. Just checking.
That's the Del Lorenzo farm.
That exact spot.
Yep, so, I usually go through a couple of slides, who we are and what we do, which is, probably a repeat for many of you, but so Conservation Commission, we're responsible for protecting the town's natural resources in a regulatory and advisory manner. We assist with the priorities outlined in the open space and recreation plan, which was last done in 2017, and we're in the process of redoing that. It's a requirement every 7 years. We advise other town boards on environmental concerns, and we administer the Wetland Protection Act and our local bylaw. And then some of the things that we do, we have to review all of the permits in town, septic zoning and building permits for compliance with laws and the wetland regulations. We administer the state and local wetlands laws and regulations. Assist with acquiring open space. Conservation manages over 3,400 acres of conservation land in town, some of which is town owned, or in addition to town owned space and semi-public open space parcels. We have well over 50 miles of mapped walking trails, a 3-acre Christmas tree farm, which I did want to remind people, December
Oh.
7th and 8th is the sale, our annual Christmas tree sale at J Fox Farm. Manage 8 hay fields totaling 60 acres, 180 acres of cranberry bogs through farm agreements. Provide support to the CPC, Community Preservation Committee. And also I'm currently providing support to the planning department. I'm the staff contact for the Coastal Resiliency Task Force, and I'm the mentor for the interim planner.
Is that the ocean spray, cranberry?
Most of our bogs do have ocean spray cranberry.
Thank you.
So these are just some of our current projects. That the first title slide was the Del Lorenzo Farm, which we're actively trying to revitalize to a working farm. We have a tree clearing policy that we recently implemented. One of the most common calls we get is from people who are afraid a tree is gonna fall on their house or their garage or their car. And because our climate has changed recently to more high wind events, we developed a policy that makes it a little easier for residents to take down up to 5 dangerous decaying or dead trees. We manage hunting on some of our conservation land. We're actively restoring the fish run. We do pond maintenance, which includes a weed harvester that Lady McGonigal runs on Island Creek Pond. We have a walking trail guide that is actually needing to be updated. Our last version of that was 2021, and we've had at least 2 major land purchases since then. I mentioned the weed harvester. We have an osprey program that we manage with Mass Audubon, where we tagged the baby osprey, so we can see where they go, who comes back, how they function when they leave Duxbury. There's a dam on Temple Street, which was a quick, easy project that started 8 years ago. And we're hoping that might actually come to fruition in 2025.
Keep the hope alive, Jennifer.
I know. Duxbury Bay Water Quality, we recently became the host on our website for a new water quality website. We, since COVID, have seen an increased use of our trails, so we have to manage that. Sometimes people are using them appropriately, sometimes not. So we have to manage that, and then.
Have you seen the usage now that COVID's whatever? It's no longer the hot button that it was. Are you seeing that the usage has remained constant since the end of 22?
I think it has.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I
Are you
really
still
do.
seeing the issues that you saw back then?
Yeah. Yeah, we are.
Those little scamps.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can testify based on the fact that I do walk almost all of the trails. And there's sometimes where I can't find a parking spot, so I have to go to a different trail, so.
Yeah.
Yes, they are used quite a bit.
So it's a good problem there.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure.
Put the camera, please.
Oh, yes.
Tremendous amount of use of that.
That's true. Yeah, I apologize. This is Michael DiVigilio. He's one of our land management assistants. I should have introduced him. And you know Mickey McGonigal, he's our conservation commissioner. I apologize. I should have introduced you guys earlier. Yeah, those are some of our current projects. So if you want to go to the budget, in terms of the 2 options that we were asked to present, option 1 being level funded plus 2.5%, and then option 2 is more of a needs budget. Really, the only difference for conservation is with salaries. So for the first line, salaries and wages, that covers my.
Are these available to us online?
I'm just checking on ClearGov to see,
Oh.
Mary, do you have this
Not quite a lot.
presentation that you can email to us?
Mary's muted.
We just can't see it, so.
Linda, do you have this presentation?
I do not.
Okay. So,
Do you want me to put it on, can I put it on ClearGov right now?
no, but you can email it to me.
Right now?
Yep,
Okay.
and I will send it to the committee.
Um,
While she's doing that, we heard and eight, and this is the second day of the minutes. Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we were just looking for this presentation, to
So-
get it to us, and, they're gonna do that.
Okay, so this whole new Zoom setup is taking some getting used to because I can understand now why Ted couldn't see it, unmute himself. It hides the taskbar. But in any event, I do have the presentation. I will email it out momentarily. I just got it today, so we'll put it out there.
I just sent it to you.
I might have just gotten it, let's,
So while we're waiting, can I
Yes.
ask a question?
Yes,
Conservation question?
yes.
So this is, of course, one of the major problems out on the trails have been dog.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
woof woof.
And it still, it continues, and what bothers me the most is when I see a bag left by the trail,
Mhm.
and then the next person that comes along that it upsets them that the bag is sitting by the trail, they hang it in the tree,
Oh, yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why do we make the bags out of paper? Well, and then the people, when the dog goes, they can put the mess in the bag and chuck it in the woods. And then it will all deteriorate together and we won't have the plastic sitting there.
Yeah, this is a real problem, and as part of the open space and recreation plan revision, I don't know if you remember in the spring, summer, there was a survey that was out there. And one of the biggest responses that we got, we're looking at preliminary results right now, but is about the dogs. Either unleashed dogs, or it's the dog waste. And I'm not sure if people, I honestly think people will pick it up and then they just fling it. And then it's like ornaments on a tree. It's disgusting. People are not responsible dog owners sometimes, and it's a shame.
Yeah, I'm not
and-
blaming the dog.
Oh, yeah, no, I know.
Well,
But
thank God.
it's a problem, and then we have also seen, I mean, there was a case at Keene Street, which we don't even have the mud mitts at because it's one of the fields, and, there was somebody smearing waste all over the garbage cans, and DPW can attest to this because they're the ones that are responsible for, stocking the mutt mitts and emptying the trash. So it's a problem, and I know, I've talked to Eddie Ramos about it. We definitely need to try to figure out a better way. I don't know if it is gonna mean limiting. their-
Wales nurses will forge ahead with planned industrial action as they seek better.
Teddy, mute Teddy.
In any event, JR, we'll look into biodegradable, which is.
There you go. That's-
Yes,
By paper, I meant.
yes, yeah.
Thank you.
But it's a real problem. I completely agree.
Did you really send that to me? Sullivan.betsy@gmail.com. Now that
Mary
it's
said she was going to also.
I just did.
Thanks, Mayor.
Sullivan.betsy@gmail.com, yeah.
That's all right. When it shows up, I'll pass it on. All right,
Mary, can you make the full screen maybe? Cause right now we're seeing it like a split screen,
Yep, well, let me try.
maybe on the. I think it's on the bottom, yeah, that guy.
This thing? Oop, nope. See all slides, zoom into the slide. Nope, not that. Pointer, toggle subtitles, camera, more slide options.
I have your notes from ClearGov if that helps.
Oh,
Click
It's
on
not-
hide presenter view.
Say again, that, say again.
Click on hide presenter view. You just set it up when you click on the three dots below the presentation.
That,
Yeah,
is that any better?
no,
No,
Oh, there's some, yeah, that's a little bit better.
Oh, so yeah, on the bottom right, you can use the,
Magnifier.
thank you.
Magnify, make it better. Oh,
There we go.
And
Takes a village.
I just got the,
Okay.
We'll shoot it out here.
So
I
I
am
think,
shooting it, baby.
Mary, we have to go back one page, pretty sure. Yeah, that one. Perfect.
All right.
And when you say from 2025 from Mary's revised budget spreadsheet, that Mary McKinnon, right?
Yes.
I got it online.
Yeah.
Okay, you got it.
All right,
Yeah, so, the, salary request, option one, the level plus 2% was the increase Mary said we should use for salaries. That's where I got the 127,303. And then in terms of a needs budget, this is something that Nikki and I presented 2 years ago, trying to modernize the office and have a, instead of an administrative assistant or a principal assistant in conservation, to have a conservation specialist was what we called it. So ideally, for a needs budget, that would be my request. I couldn't assign a dollar amount to it though, because
As a personnel plan.
it's not in the personnel plan, and if it is, it would be part of the job classification study, which the results haven't been released yet.
Is there even a job description that you put together, Nancy?
Yes.
Put together a job description, hasn't been rated by HR.
Jeannie?
Correct, yeah, so that's why, I have that one shaded green.
So, but you had made a point when we were all chatting, it's not a new position, it is merely an upgrade of an existing position.
Correct.
And therefore the impact would be less than a new position. Don't go crazy on me.
Yes, that's correct.
What we suggested as well is we would look to the administrative portion of the CPA to fund it. It would be a couple of $1,000 not having it rated. So it would have,
On the differential.
yeah,
Yeah.
it would have no impact on the operating budget.
So it's an admin assistant today that you'd like to make into a conservation specialist.
Right,
Any increase, any delta between what you currently have is a vacancy essentially, right, would be picked up by the CPC administration.
Have you got agreement from them?
we have agreement in terms of how much money we can have. All right, and
50 square.
we can allocate it differently.
Okay.
What happens if we go to election and decrease the CPA?
Is that being discussed?
Then they're gonna renege.
Is that being discussed?
It's not on the.
No, but
Next year.
I think that JR's point is, that can be something as simple as a motion at town meeting,
well, it's a seasonal
yes,
position.
which is how it happened last time.
Yes.
So it is
Yeah.
something that
I
is
didn't understand.
not under discussion in any way, shape or form before everybody has a heart attack, but it is always, this is, but it's always, it can happen.
Throw a wrench into them.
And I mean, it's just something that could always happen, so
See?
assuming that this would be funded by CPA ad infinitum is not.
And the reason, the only point we'd make there is, CPC would have the authority to prioritize how we use the administrative money, even if it's less than at 3%, if it's at 2% or 1%. It's conceivable that the money would still cover.
Well,
the cost.
but not guaranteed,
Not
and
guaranteed.
the chances are not improved if that ever happens.
Right.
Okay. We're in cahoots, but we can't, we can't depend on it.
Coots might be a bad term.
Yeah, cahoots is a bad term, but whatever.
In agreement.
Right.
So that would be my change on the salary line. On the intermittent and seasonal line, I have,
UD, wow.
Teddy, okay, yes, better, all right.
so that the requested number is, again, using Mary's revised budget spreadsheet, and then my, request for my needs budget would be to increase, right now, the position is shared by two people. So there are 15 hours that are shared by two people, David Philbrook and Michael DiVirgilio. And ideally, I would like to increase that from 15 hours a week to 19 hours a week. Michael can certainly speak to the need for that. We've had some turnover in that position, and the trails are showing it, and they definitely need attention. And Michael can elaborate.
So, or what we're going through now is, and if you said this in the beginning, please forgive me, is this the needs request, not the level funded request, yeah?
So I have them both on the same spreadsheet.
Oh,
So-
that's not helpful.
Right
Okay.
here, right here.
Yep, no, got it, okay,
Not help.
right, okay, got it. See, I see it now, thank you.
Okay. So those are my only differences between the two options. Would be on those two salaries.
Okay, great,
Otherwise, it's all the same.
got it.
Just reading this, so Mary's revised budget, plus the 2%.
Yep.
And it's David and Michael, and I feel like we increased it 19 hours a week for both David and Michael.
So it's one position that two people share.
Gotcha, okay,
David's been out on medical leave
okay.
all summer, so I've been working by myself. And the bottom line is that 15 hours hasn't been enough. I've done it, Nancy can speak to this, I've gotten a lot done. But the condition of the trails in particular require a lot of work. And so that was the reasoning behind increasing the hours.
Thank you.
So is David coming back?
We hope so.
He has a serious medical issue.
That's unfortunate, I wish him the best of him. Okay.
So I don't know, did you want to go line by line? Do you?
No, thank you.
No, thank you, okay. So if we go past the budget, that, the others, these slides that I had were, so this was, I was gonna show you this because this is what we requested
Finance committee,
2 years ago.
okay.
So it might look familiar to you,
Finance committee, do we?
but Mary, if you go to the next slide. So this is what we're requesting with the proposed staffing. So right now there are 3 positions. And then what we're requesting is also 3 positions, just different responsibilities.
Mary?
Yep.
Shouldn't this be present, I mean, we don't have a job description, we don't have an approved position, we don't have a salary schedule. How exactly is this part of the conversation at this point in time?
So this would be included in, if it is included in the town manager's recommended budget. 'Cause
Sure.
that's the first step. Then the position would have to be approved via Article 4, which comes before the operating budget of Article 5.
And if it was unfunded, and it would have to be placed in a salary, and if it was unfunded by CPC, how would that potentially impact us?
Then the additional cost would have to go into the operating budget into this department.
Right. So if you have a job description and it's in the four and it's leveled at a certain. And if CPC is unable, then well, it would be unfunded. You can't hire somebody and say only kidding.
Right, yes, I understand.
And so I think in this particular case, Oh, no, we're talking, this is the permanent position, right? Not the intermittent?
Right,
Right.
right.
Okay, yeah. No, I mean, the funding, it's a risk, relying on CPC, and we haven't heard from them that they've made a commitment. So, that's a consideration, but it is currently being evaluated as part of the compensation and classification study. I know a job description has been created and it's being evaluated, but again, it would need to pass inclusion in the town manager's budget.
So it's Allison Shane. I'm not quite sure that it's not the conservation specialist, it's,
She's currently the principal assistant.
okay, very good, thank you. That
They would
is-
be promoted
maybe I
into
should
this
have-
position.
Maybe I should have said that new job description is vacant, because there's no guarantee that Allison would get it.
Oh,
Right, it's not new, it's just,
But if Allison didn't get it,
somebody else.
Should be unemployed,
Yeah.
April, I was trying to figure a way to say that nicely.
Yes.
Thank you.
but, the model that we're proposing and have proposed previously is a model that Nancy and Joe used. Even though she was in a principal assistant position, she was working closely with Joe to do a lot of what we're requesting
oh,
now.
I'm sure that you've vetted and you've got your own operational plan, you have just a little thrown that there was a name. associated in that box, and maybe it should just be.
It should say
the box.
vacant.
It should be, well,
Or-
but then you would have to include Allison as principal assistant.
Cause it exists.
Because you don't want that taken out of your budget if this did not come to fruition. So you really need to, I don't know, you and Mary can work it out,
Okay,
but you have to. And Rainey, but you make sure that you present a budget that includes what exists today.
okay,
You don't want to just include something that you want to exist, and then if it didn't go through, then where are you, right?
right,
You
yes.
don't wanna lose that.
You don't want to lose what you got.
Right, yes, okay, so the thought is the conservation specialist will do everything that the principal assistant does and more.
Right, we
But I
understand the
understand what
concept
you're
of it,
saying.
yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly, I know,
It's just the way you tell the story.
okay. And then my last slide, was just my capital budget request.
I'd like to hear that, yeah.
Okay, I have one request that is for aquatic treatment of Lower Chandler Mill Pond. This is something that's done every 5 or 6 years. The last time it was done was in 2018. The pond is half in Duxbury and half in Pembroke. So in the past, the cost has been split evenly between the two towns.
No,
No, this is,
I can't.
behind Lake Shore Drive.
Okay,
Those
gotcha.
things, yeah. So the estimate that I received, from a couple of vendors is around 40,000, which would mean 20,000 per town. The only, caveat I want to put out there is I have not received buy-in yet from Pembroke. And if they don't agree with this, I'm not sure if it makes sense, because
Didn't they not agree last time?
no.
you did tell me that, I'm not sure.
No, as far as I know, or recollect, Joe and the conservation administrator in Pembroke had a good relationship. And it always went forward since,
That was my recollection,
Okay, I,
but my understanding,
yeah,
I've been
well,
on the Conservation Commission for years.
and essentially the point that Nancy's making is that, we can't treat half the pond.
Right, you can't.
no, we get it.
So if they don't buy in,
Which is
we
why,
don't do it.
yeah, don't worry, we
got it.
yeah,
Yeah.
we get it.
So that was it.
Okay, any questions?
Well, the big mystery is around that position, other than that, no.
Right,
Yeah.
and then we'll have to just see what Rainey recommends and for the job description and if CPC is, in the tank.
Yes.
Holly's on the Conservation Commission.
I know, but still, you never know. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to hang out for the next one for,
We weren't gonna ask you to leave.
well, thank you, I appreciate that.
All right,
But
planning board? Oh, no, he's not coming tonight.
No.
No, Scott's not coming. He's gonna be coming on the,
Water.
I understand that. I was just reading this. The planning board is coming on the 19th. Was that rescheduled to?
No, Rebecca's here.
yeah, we
tonight.
have the,
Rebecca's here.
Oh, Rebecca is here.
There she is.
Well, what are all these emails that we've been
Hi.
seeing? Doesn't matter.
Hi,
Hi,
Rebecca.
Rebecca, sorry. Good, glad you're here. Gosh, excited.
Wish I could
Okay.
be there in person. Nice to meet all of you and thank you for having me.
Bye, Nick. Okay, do we have this spreadsheet? Because you,
I'll get it.
it would just, yeah, that's.
It's in ClearCo.
I'm gonna email it out right now.
Thank you. Are you saying it to all of us?
Yep,
Thank you.
you betcha.
Rebecca's last name is roughly R-O-U-G-H.
L-E-Y.
What is it?
R-O-U-G-H-L-E-Y.
Our budgets are under the same like the same section, right, Nancy?
Yes, and I'm not sure, I don't remember that happening before, but for some reason this year they're mixed. So I tried to pull them out to make our presentations easier.
I do not have a fancy presentation like Nancy. I've been here for a minute and I also feel like I haven't been here long enough to really understand the past of the budget other than, you know, the actuals and talking to Emily. So you all will have to bear with me. Do you want me to go line by line or just talk? I just have maybe a couple glaring things on here. I can just do the highlights or it's up to all of you.
Yeah, go with what you feel is important, and if we would like some clarification, we will not be shy.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, so the big one is line 38, which is the other professional and technical services. That we increased, well, we doubled it due to, you know, the accessory dwelling units coming down the line. We didn't budget for the extra legal services with the MBTA communities or, you know, the ads and the abutters list that has gone along with that. And we feel that with the accessory dwelling unit bylaw that we'll need to work on this fiscal year, this next fiscal year, that we're going to need the extra funds for legal review and other requirements like abutters lists and whatnot. The other part of that, and I believe, as you can see in the notes, Mary's going to make another line item for it since it's new, is the E-code on our website. That is still currently underway. We did make some headway on that at the planning board meeting last week. But it's, from my understanding, been sort of a slow process, but we're going to be adding E-code hosting on our website, which is like our bylaws will be electronically posted on the website so people will be able to search a lot easier. There's a number of other communities that currently have that. And that is $1,195 to host that every year. So that'll be an ongoing operating expense. And again, Mary's going to add a new, we have the account number on here, a new line item for that. We moved a couple things around just based on actuals, a few $100s here and there. We took the uniforms out completely. There was, I mean, it was a small amount, $160, but it hasn't been used in the past and we don't foresee, you know, a planning director needing uniforms. That's not really necessary for this position. And then the other one would just be more of the upping the budget for the advertising. Again, this is just, you know, getting ready for the accessory dwelling unit requirements and other bylaw changes. So that's really the high level overview highlights. Can ask questions.
MBTA
Can you say that again? Sorry, didn't hear you.
I can't remember if it just was the ADU, or did it include the MBTA overlay?
We feel that the MBTA will be wrapped up by this next fiscal year, although we definitely don't know that for sure. But if it doesn't pass, obviously next week, then we'll take another stab at it for March. So we would still be in this current fiscal year.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. I couldn't recall. Thank you.
Yeah.
Rebecca,
Yeah.
JR,
Hi.
in your physical 26 option 2, I would have expected to see a climate resilience personnel.
Yeah, I just learned about that at the coastal resilience meeting last week that I popped in for. To be honest with you, I don't know a lot about that, and I haven't seen a job description for that either. So that is definitely a conversation that we can have and amend as necessary. I can meet with Mary and Nancy Rufo, since she's the liaison with the coastal resiliency task force. We can touch base on that after. I think, and Mary, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that in the job classification study?
It is. So this would be
Okay.
very, am I muted? This would
Nope.
be very similar to what we were just talking about with the conservation specialist. So it is a new job description that is included as part of the current classification study. It's being evaluated right now. And again, if it passes for town manager's recommendation, then it would be included in the budget that gets transmitted to the finance committee for review.
And I'm more than willing to assist with a job description if necessary.
But Mary, it would also have to be added to Article 4. Yeah, okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
I think we may have made note of that up, Mary, if you go up a little bit.
Not seen it.
Oh, we know, right,
No,
maybe.
it's not in here.
Not
It's
in
not, okay. I think we had it on one of the versions, we might have lost my note. That's okay.
No worries. I'm going to put a note in here though, so when I review it.
Oh, thank you.
I'm just curious if I might ask friend Weiler, how long have you been here, Rebecca? You're interim planning, and could you give us a little bit of your background?
Sure. I've been with Duxbury, I believe, since September 18th, I feel like was my first day. My background is in planning, and also my previous position was as an assistant town administrator. I live in Sandwich. I grew up in Berkshire County, so the towns previous to working here on the Cape, I worked in Western Mass in Berkshire County as a planner, and as an administrative assistant to the building inspector was actually my first municipal position. And also I do work for a regional planning commission doing procurement for highway products and services. And that's kind of a seasonal job. I work really hard, maybe 3 months out of the year, putting those products out to bid. So I've been doing that for close to 5 years. So really my main background is procurement is probably my number one, planning, and I did some HR when I worked in Wellfleet and kind of was a jack of all trades there. So still figuring out what I want to be when I grow up.
Aren't we all? Hey, Mary, on this, I see 3 tabs on the bottom of this spreadsheet. And one has the salary and wages requested at 127. The one that we're looking at, it's 158. And the third one is also 127.
Those are conservation numbers.
And so is it just the fact
It's
that
just that middle sheet is all we're.
it's all planning, but
Yeah.
but the first one is plan plus conservation level
I
revised.
don't know why they did
So
that.
if you, I can speak to that.
Yeah, that'd be-
In ClearGov, for some reason, these 2 departments are the only 2 departments that were combined into one department. So when you go to extract data out, it gives you both planning and conservation together. It's simply the group code that was used when ClearGov was established. But if you look at that first tab and you look at the account number, Department 171 is conservation. So this row here relates to conservation. And if you scroll down, you'll get to 175 down here, which is Rebecca, the start of Rebecca's department. So this sheet just has them both consolidated because that's how they were extracted from ClearGov. And then Nancy and Rebecca worked to split them out into these two respective tabs. That's all.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Just to confuse.
Yes, I don't remember that happening before, having them combined, but it was fun.
I wanted to ask, that's all. Okie dokie. All right. We got that. Rebecca, thank you for
Pretty
coming
straightforward.
to help us out. And then getting thrown into the deep end of the pool. So,
Thank you
we
for
will-
having me.
All right, anybody have any other questions?
Nope.
I know.
No? Al, you all
Thank
set
you.
back
Yeah.
there?
Yes.
All right, buddy. All right, Rebecca, thank you so much, and we appreciate you tagging in here for us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Have a good night, everyone.
Yep.
Good night.
All right. I can go. Yeah, leave as well. Thank you. Of course.
Thank you.
Do we have a
He's on this.
spreadsheet for you, sir?
He's on the spreadsheet.
Cool.
All right.
I love a good spreadsheet.
What's in each mailbox?
You mentioned Steve's low energy.
You guys- You all have Mark's spreadsheet? Give your green piece of paper.
Have a couple more.
Green.
Printouts if anybody needs them.
So Mark had his own spreadsheets too, because mine just had sewer, the enterprise, so it's
Okay.
separate. So Mark
Good.
sent all his stuff over today. Is it, did we get it?
We have under separate cover under Mark and in your mailbox.
Oh, here it is.
Oh, there you go.
All right. I was gonna say Mark just ditched me.
Hmm.
All right, yes, actually, I hadn't even looked at this, so that's scary that I didn't remember. All right, go ahead. Hit it.
Hello. The water and sewer department, forms a lot of work. We have, myself, I have an assistant, one administrative assistant, 3 treatment plant operators and 5 distribution operators. And, with the staff, we operate 10 drinking water wells, 365 days of the year, respond to alarms 24 hours a day. It's almost never that we go through a whole week without some sort of alarm or a call out in the middle of the night. We operate and maintain 5 separate sewer systems, 8 sewer lift stations, 29 residential sewer ejector pumps, and the same with that, respond to alarms every day of the week, 24 hours. Operate the sewer plant for the high school, which is a sequence batch reactor. We have to go around and connect power to all those sewer stations when there's a storm. And when they lose power, the sewer still has to be pumped. That's for all the residential units and for the town units. We perform cross connection testing, respond to water main breaks all hours of the day. Read 5,682 water meters. Flush water mains every year. Sample water and sewer system for clients. Oversee water main construction and assist with snowplow operation. So we really do a lot with that staff.
Are you fully staffed?
With that,
Are you fully staffed?
yes, we are very fortunate to be fully staffed. A lot of towns aren't at this time.
All the licenses are then covered.
Yes, yeah, we no longer need assistance from Weston and Sampson. They say, yeah.
That's a good.
Okay.
So I only presented one budget since it's the enterprise fund. We're looking at $951,999 thousand. The salaries and wages. Overtime, I've asked for an increase because it adds up really quick with all the call-outs we get. Every storm, we lose power to someplace, we have to go out. We have a lot of lines at all the water stations also. I have fever. I have somebody on call all the time for both treatment and distribution.
You drew it up on that, it's like you came down a little bit on that.
Yes, yep. Police details, that's been fairly consistent. That's for all the work that we do on the road.
Are you expecting something, construction or something this year for the increase in that?
Well, we are doing a lot more. We're trying to do some work in-house. So that requires a lot more police details. We just did some work on St. George Street that we wanted to get done before we were able to put out a water main project. So we did it in-house to get it done sooner and save some money. So when we do that, we need more police details.
Was 24 so much? 24, the big difference between 24 and 25 so dramatic?
On,
Police detail.
No, on salaries and wages.
so I added a.
No, I can,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mary?
I can speak to that a little bit. So since both Mark and I have been here for just a little over a year, we've had multiple amendments to the collective bargaining agreement in order to attract and retain our staff. And so that increase from 24 to 25 reflects those additional MOUs that were entered into between the union and the town.
And I also added a salary.
You added, yep, an assistant.
So there was a new position plus a couple of contract settlements, is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, they had to rebuild the whole department.
No, I remember, and where did we, is the money that we had to give to Weston and Sampson, for last year, where would that have landed here as far as actual goes?
So it was, you're not going to see the full impact here. Because it was a wastewater treatment issue. And what ended up happening is we ended up utilizing a variety of funding sources that became available to us. Some were the ARPA funds that the community received directly. And then there was also an earmark from the state, from a previous state budget. So we had to utilize outside funding sources that became available because the existing operating budget just could not afford to cover those costs.
I think that happened the first week you were here, Mayor.
It certainly did. I think it happened the first week that Mark was here, and he jumped in a few weeks ahead of me. So it was a challenge, to say the least, and it was a very expensive challenge.
So going forward. Using other funding for operational, right, expenses, is that something I'm just trying to get the look forward. Is that expected to continue?
We all hope not. It was a very unique circumstance, right? So the town was experiencing a high volume of staffing turnover in key positions. And there is a license requirement for the staff to operate our facilities. And because we did not have the staff in place that had those credentials, we had to hire an outside consultant until we could get the staff in place to eliminate the need for using an outside consultant. That's a completely unexpected situation, and we do not, we do not anticipate that would recur.
Okay, that's what I was looking for, Mary. The condition has stabilized itself, and we've attributed it to our operational budget.
So the 25 request being higher than the 26 request was just a result of all of that, right?
The 25 request being higher than the 26 was a result of the budget that we presented and passed at town meeting, which included some collective bargaining agreement increases, as well as the additional staff position that Mark had requested last year.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Sorry, Mike.
We also negotiated some stipends, which is gonna help us retain the employees
Mhm.
that we've hired and trained.
Is that just the beaver stipend part?
No, that's some, licensing stipend.
Okay, that's in case as we go forward, thank you.
That's incorporated into the salaries.
Yes.
On the one below, why is life insurance and Medicare in here?
This is an enterprise fund, and those are the costs that the water enterprise pays over to the general fund.
Of course, sorry.
Okay. So Mark, do you want to continue to go down and give the highlights of any big changes?
Sure, so electric, hopefully that's, not too much higher than 2024 actual.
Where's your Marshfield water?
The propane has gone up
Okay.
yearly. Big one is the Marshfield water. That's kind of out of our controls, so, we bill for the water use, but if we have a water main break or a fire, we have to pay for that water. So, it can get out of control real quick if there's a leak out there and we're not, getting compensated for that water.
Which we've had both this year.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, that's a
So
good.
we're hoping to get an abatement on, the fire. But that should be seen, but the leaks, we have to own that.
Testing is up a little bit,
Which one?
testing.
Yep. There's always, more testing, we have to test PFAS quarterly now. That's about $400 every quarter.
So, well, rehabilitation, it's kind of a jump.
So that was, originally it was put in articles, and then we decided to roll it into the operating budget.
Right.
What?
We moved it from a separate capital item into the operating budget.
So it used to be
Because it's a-
capital, now it's
Yes,
operating,
right.
okay, thank
Now
you.
Now it's in the operating, because it's an ongoing expense of the department.
Yep, okay,
So we, redevelop a minimum of 3 wells every winter. And then along with that redevelopment of the well, they typically find problems with the pump or the motor. And at least one of them,
so is that a something that you're truing up from actual expenses? From the last few years to come, that would cover?
yeah. And
And
then,
that includes 3 wells, right?
And then the consulting service?
so typically we'll run into this problems during the year and we'll need a consultant, whether it's for a water main project or, well rehab. You have, tank work. It's always something that comes up during the year that you need assistance for consulting, but
Is this,
So where would that have been since it's 8,000, 2,000 for the 22 and 23?
Can I jump in for 1 second? So
Yeah,
what you guys are looking at here, this is FY 25. This is the current year that we're in right now. And then this is what Mark's requesting.
okay,
So the numbers that you're looking at from the current fiscal year, they're actually level funded. So what happened is last year when Mark was new to the organization, and after, a couple of hot minutes of him getting his arms around things and he had to build a budget, we took an opportunity to take a close look at his budget and true it up last year. So these numbers that you're seeing here are actually level funded from doing that exercise last year. So the town used to have the water superintendent go before fiscal advisory and request funding in capital articles in order to handle certain things that are really routine and customary parts of Mark's business. And so rather than having the superintendent have to go before capital or before fiscal advisory, we made the decision to make his budget more flexible and give him the opportunity to react and respond to situations of a public health nature in a more streamlined fashion. So these are not, you're not comparing necessarily this column. It's these 2 columns here because we did that exercise last year.
So we're going from 2.8 to 2.9, basically.
Correct, for the bottom line.
Well, and it looks as though the engineering service just moved up to consulting service.
So the engineering service is, yes, you could say that, yes.
But then it came back again for 26 on top of.
Mhm. Correct.
So we don't have a FY 26 dream sheet.
No, this is an enterprise fund, so it's not subject to taxation. This is based on user rates. And that exercise is not necessary for the enterprise fund. And so I will, at this point, and I don't mean to, Sheila and Mark, you can tell me to be quiet if you guys want to talk about this stuff, but I also want to highlight for the committee that the town is currently underway with a very much needed and a very long overdue water sewer rate study. Has not been done in over a decade, and in order to support the requirements of this department and being able to replace water mains, keep our wells clean, and do all of the repairs and maintenance and upgrades that Mark needs in order to keep our water distribution system running properly. So the results of that study should be out in the spring, that will be able to in part support some of the increases here that you're seeing in the FY 26 budget.
So what is the revenue from from the water department?
So the revenue comes from the water bills, and they average approximately 3 million a year.
Okay.
And what's the balance?
That's without the impact of any new rate adjustments.
Sure. Thank you.
And what's the balance in the enterprise free cash?
In their retained earnings, it's about 2.5 million. I can look it up and give you an exact number.
Okay.
It was 4 million, but at the last town meeting, we did appropriate a significant portion of that. We appropriated $700,000 to PFAS remediation, and we appropriated 750,000 to water main replacements.
Right.
Okay, it's system rehab, I think is the term we call it. So that ate into a significant portion of the retained earnings for the water enterprise. So it's down to about 2.5 million.
It's just difficult to track this because the numbers just kind of jump around, but I understand that they were this was as a result of last year, and we haven't got a full year to give us better data on this yet.
Okay. All right.
The 25 is very reflective of what it was agreed it cost the department last year to run it. And 26 isn't looking for a lot more.
Correct. Or less.
Historically, it isn't, I think, reflective of what it was really costing the town, because one thing we use in capital and we move things around, so I know it's a little bit sort of like the rock when we finally figured out after a couple of years what the rock looks like. I think we're gonna find the same thing with this. Going forward, we're gonna be much more comfortable with this number.
Yeah, it's just the, chemicals, 175 to 150. It just kind of is bouncing around a little bit, and it's tough to track if you're not familiar with it.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully that's helping keep the number down.
Electricity and propane.
Well, usually it's up. This went down.
Yeah,
Why is that?
well, that was, what was requested. We weren't sure what was gonna happen.
Chemical prices skyrocketed after COVID. So I think last year was still rollover from that. So that's why you brought it down.
It's water and sewer field is so specialized that there's not many vendors for the chemicals, for the pumps, the instruments.
Yeah.
I mean, you're lucky if you can shop between 2 different vendors for any of the products.
Mhm.
So you don't have the opportunity to shop around and get a good price on anything.
They call each other up anyway.
Not all.
Doesn't sell fluoride.
No,
It's not like price fixing.
they can charge whatever they want, so you have to be prepared.
But well, there is a bidding cooperative for chemicals. water and sewer departments on the South Shore
Mhm.
participate in, so that's where you get most of them.
Yep,
Did you have some leverage?
a little bit, I mean, there's maybe 2 or 3 vendors supplying those chemicals that are bidding against each other, so.
Right.
Okay. And then Sheila, a certain amount of your salary is diverted to this, okay, yeah.
The pumps and instruments is another big one. There's only really 2 suppliers of all the chemical pumps or the analyzers for the chlorine, pH. Water meters, we spend a lot on that. We like to replace 10% of the water meters every year. Turnover, because the batteries go bad and then they malfunction. When I came here, they hadn't been replacing many at all. Avoiding it due to short staff that they've had.
Mhm.
So I've really been purchasing a lot more water meters. Catch us back up to where we should be. We have water connections, we did go up on the fees this year. And now getting $7,000 per connection,
Mhm.
so that should help.
Okay.
License renewals, we have a lot of new guys. Half our staff is new to the field. So they're actually in training and taking a lot of courses to get their licenses. And that'll take several years before they're where they should be.
And we're paying for the training?
Yes,
And were there any agreements that they would, after they get their licenses, that they would stay for a period of time?
no, but the stipends that we put in place, put them at the top. Close to the top of where all the water departments are paying. So there's really no incentive for them to leave. They're not gonna make much more money. If they get all licenses and leave. They would be better off staying here.
That's how they were able to staff the department.
Yeah, no,
Good money.
I get it, but you've seen that to be something now that we're looking to do is like in the police department. If we're paying to get licensed for a specific job, that there's some,
Mhm.
clawback if they leave.
Yeah, but they can look around at the other towns and see that they're really gonna make any more money by starting
And
over.
this is a very specialized position.
Yes, yeah. System rehab and maintenance, that's for, we have VFDs and all kinds of drives, electrical components that operate the wells. So that covers that.
Right.
Your actuals, though, it's interesting, Mark, your actuals for 23-24 were much higher. So perhaps something had happened during those 2 years that we caught up on maintenance or. And system improvement and contingencies are. I'm not sure I know what that,
Yeah.
what that means.
We moved the funding to the row above, system rehab,
Oh, gotcha, Mary, okay.
in
Thank
order
you.
to put it into a category that more aligned with how the funds were being utilized.
Okay, thanks, that makes sense.
Sure.
Any other questions on the water?
No,
And we'll break down all the stipends and the salaries on the second page.
Thank you for that.
And another breakdown of the increases.
Any update on PFAS or there are studies that are being done there or where they are
Oh.
right now?
Betsy, you want to go down this road?
No, you don't wanna go down.
Could you back up one? You back up one slide.
I don't want it to be a surprise.
I just think on this chart down in the last section, it lists those as, that's not what I'm looking at.
No,
That's
Are you-
capital. The chart that was listed, water employees. There was a section where it lists salaries, but down the bottom section, I think it should be stipends.
Oh,
That is, oh, maybe it's included in the salary, but it's a stipend that you're highlighting. That one right there, isn't it? It says salaries, but isn't that stipends?
But it's been rolled into their salary.
No,
It's-
it's very small numbers.
It's the monetary equivalent of the licenses that Mark was talking about.
Fine, thank you.
Sure.
Sure.
Did you want to touch PFAS, Mark? Sheila?
Well, no decision has been made on which well that we would move forward with.
So I have a question and nothing's gonna get solved tonight, and I'm sorry, Mary, for doing this, but I'm sure we've looked at filtering individual, the 6,500 water mains or whatever, or
Have to do it at the source after treatment, so we can't sample when it's diluted in the system.
I just hate the thought of having to treat all that water that we're putting on the lawn and flushing the toilet.
Which is over 1 million gallons every single day during the summer.
So
We're
that,
treating that and with no benefit.
so that's a big issue, because if the irrigation usage were to decrease, this PFAS project wouldn't look the way it looks right now. So it's kind of a big issue that the town needs to consider.
So what's the proposal, Sheila?
The
For
current-
irrigation. For irrigation, I'm sorry, to address the irrigation issue that you just mentioned, have we proposed to have a moratorium on irrigation connections?
We have drafted policy. It hasn't
But-
gone before the select board yet, but
But that's for the new connections. It's the current connections that are using all the water, the 1 million gallons every day.
so
New
the-
connection.
But when you say it would really make a difference, meaning, how would that make a difference? In what way?
So we just barely make it through the supply in the summertime. We hit the low level every single morning in our tanks, just trying to maintain for the irrigation. So we need another well site to come online. So if we were to bring that other well site online, we would need to pay for the treatment also, which would be very expensive. So we
So
could
the
save,
alternative is to ban water systems.
we could save a
That's it.
considerable amount of money.
Sprinkler systems.
Irrigation.
So the
Irrigation.
proposed policy, that we'd like to bring before the board would say no new irrigation systems in the town. Anyone who has one would be grandfathered. So that's a start. I think another thing that needs to be looked at is during that water rate study, potentially seasonal rates, but you really need quarterly billing to capture that seasonal rate, yeah. So that's limited with what we can do right now until we shift over to quarterly billing. In terms of the PFAS, of your 12 wells, you have 2 that exceed the current EPA limit of 4 parts per trillion. Both of those wells are shut off. That's Partridge and Depot. The issue Mark is facing right now in the summer because of the irrigation demand, he really could use that extra water from Depot. So, but in terms of where we are with the other wells, none of them are currently over the 4 part per trillion, because it's calculated based on a running annual average with the EPA. So, but, and this is a big but, if you have a hit of 3.5 for one of your quarters, the way EPA tells you to calculate it, you put that 3.5 in as a 0 for your running annual average. So even if we have a well that has 3.5, 3.7, 3.8, 4.2, that gets calculated as 3 zeros plus the 4.2 divided by 4. So because of the way they calculate it, our wells don't look as bad on paper. Even though some of them, when you look at the numbers, they're flirting with that 4. But it is something that the ratepayers need to consider, because right now, technically, the 2 wells that we're in exceedance for are off. So we're not in violation at all right now. So it's a big conversation because you're talking a lot of money.
It's $38 million worth of conversation
That's just the phase 1
for
project.
the phase 1 project for the mitigation.
Yeah.
Plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the annual maintenance costs, which they said could be up to 100,000 per well per year.
But you mentioned this million gallons a day in the summer of irrigation. If that was somehow mitigated.
Mhm.
Let's say through people putting in wells, which there's no restriction on that, right? But you can only use the well for irrigation and pools and watering your well, stuff like that. You can't use it for your house unless you get a special permit for that. Can you do that? And you use the well for both or only for irrigation?
They have to test the water and they
Yes.
can classify it as drinking water or irrigation only.
The reality is most people would use it just for irrigation if they're tied into town.
Does-
And
If,
accept-
if we were to switch the irrigation from town water to, everybody would have to have their own well. Does that detract from your water supply?
Yes, greatly.
So it's still water, but we wouldn't have to treat it.
Come from the same.
It's still the
It's
same.
No, we would probably run half of the wells.
So ultimately, rates would be adjusted. It's an enterprise fund. The revenue still needs to come in. But in terms of if the irrigation usage went down, it would provide Mark a lot more flexibility of which wells to pump in the summer. If you have a well that appears to be on the verge of exceeding that 4 part per trillion threshold, may not need to use it if your water demands half. But the reality is everywhere summer water usage goes up. It's not just in the town of Duxbury, but irrigation is the primary driver.
Okay, that's good. This,
Do you know
Yeah,
how many
it's a big
irrigation
conversation.
systems we have in town? By any chance? There's no way of knowing.
No,
Well, if we did a detailed study of the water usage
Yeah,
records,
usage,
we'd be
that
able
would
to
tell
figure
you.
it out.
oh yeah, we know how much they use, because they all come online at the same time and all get shut down at the same time.
Yep.
gotta be 70%.
Yeah, I mean, so we know it's well over 1 million gallons.
A lot.
And so on those million gallon days. What is our total consumption?
It gets up to about 3 million gallons a day.
So 2 million for the regular domestic
A
and
third.
not a,
Yeah,
That's
right
huge.
under 1 million.
Can you
That's enough,
mandate
that's close,
irrigation systems that have rain sensors? Would that help? I mean,
Yeah.
anything would
Yeah,
help.
I mean, I think it takes a lot of ongoing maintenance of those rain sensors.
Well, the new
Effective.
the new ones actually are pretty good. They're the ones that they're on the internet. And it goes by the weather, the weather forecast.
Mhm.
So I had one put in last year and it tells me what day it's, it's not gonna, we're not gonna be, it's not gonna run tomorrow because of the weather forecast. And it's not gonna run today because of the rain we had last night. So they do a much better job than those old manual rain sensors that had cork on them.
Right.
Yeah, most of the systems I see are running in the rain.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That makes me nuts.
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree.
And you're all paying to treat the water with fluoride. To put it on the grass.
No cavities in those teeth, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm?
So, yep, Mary, I did go there. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I did it, not me.
I accept.
All
So we
right.
got the sewer.
So this year we went down, the only salary that we take out of the sewer is for the administrative assistant. We take, portion of her pay,
Alex.
yes. Before they budgeted a lot more for a foreman position. But then didn't really take it out usually.
And the supervising foreman?
I'm not sure what happened.
I saw that,
Where-
what happened to this?
Yeah, where that was going. I mean, I know they told me what it was put in for was to increase the pay of a foreman. Previously, but we checked in,
Mary's desperately trying to show us something here.
okay.
No, keep going. I'm just getting ready for when Mark gets there.
Oh, okay.
Keep going.
Okay.
So I just reduced the actual amount that we're supposed to be taking out.
Okay.
For the admin. A lot of these numbers are hard to track because,
Your budget?
The plant was down for a while. It was actually offline for almost 4 months because of problems with the actuators.
Mhm.
So
Right.
we had to do a lot more pumping during that period. That was very difficult. And then we also had a problem with our bluefish station. We had to totally rebuild that after we had a failure in the connection. With the water. It's just the water that's used in-house. We have filters there that we have to wash down. Marshfield sewer is another one that we have problems controlling. Because that can be affected by inflow and infiltration. We have a sewer main out on Burnett Road. And if extra water, ocean seawater gets in there. Or anything, a leak, a water main leak, and that can affect the bill because there's a common flow meter right before it goes into Marshfield. So
Too bad they don't bill it based on the water bills.
Yes.
Water usage.
that would be better, but
Size.
Sewer is not part of the water enterprise fund?
No.
Okay, thank you.
It's a capital budget.
Yeah.
And it's a DPW budget.
waste removal can be another big one, as you can see in FY 24. That's when we had a problem with our bluefish and we had to have that pumped and brought to Marshfield for, I think it was a couple months.
It was big,
Yes, it
big problem.
was very painful.
Well, and also the treatment plant was down.
So anytime we lose operation of these, we have to bring a hauler in to pump daily. The high school plant. When the school's in service, will be 3 trucks a day. During the summer, it's 1 truck a day.
So that was down from what, April to,
July.
That seems to have stabilized.
so we
Yep.
were doing a lot of pumping.
Good times.
very Costly.
So, Mary, has there ever been conversation about adding sewer into the enterprise fund, or is that not possible? Or would that be beneficial?
It's not possible. So an enterprise fund needs to be a business entity in and of itself, right? It's got to generate enough revenue to cover its costs. There's no way you're going to do that with sewer.
Right,
No.
okay. Thank you.
How do we charge people now for sewage?
There's 3 set rates depending on which system you're connected to.
Which is usage like water?
It's how much water you use. It's not how much waste you produce. It's how much water you
Right.
take it off. Your water main, your incoming water,
Oh, okay,
and then you get billed a percentage of that for your septic.
see.
Engineering services, we realize that we need a lot more. For different projects or things that come up during the year. Stuff we have to look at and improve.
Came down a little bit though.
Yep.
Like the chewed up on there.
Equipment maintenance and supplies, that adds up very quickly.
So we don't know what the 24 actual was for engineering.
We didn't have anything. Yeah,
That's
but,
what's going on.
Okay,
equipment. Maintenance and supplies, that adds up very quickly. Chemicals. Kind of just looked at what we've used in the past. And then uniforms, the crew have to wear different uniforms when they switch over from doing water work to wastewater.
and that's a good thing.
Yes,
And license renewals, we don't have. We don't have to put anything in there for that.
no, it's pretty much most of the licensing is like done through the water.
Oh, okay.
So for sewer, I presented 2 budgets. The level funded. There's 395, 561. And then 416, 461 is what I requested.
I don't know if that is tied to my field store.
I'm sorry. What did you just say? I'm sorry.
I was muttering, I was just looking at the difference between the two and noted that Marshfield sewer was a big part of it. That's all, no big deal.
I thought you said I moved Mark's sewer budget. That's,
So there too.
That was exciting for you, wasn't it, honey?
I was thinking this is our first vote. Let's go.
Yeah, no, don't get excited.
Close Mark, but no.
Okay.
So I do want to hear about the sewer capital request, because because,
Before you go, she was highlighting something there for us.
what are you highlighting, Don?
Just the extraordinary, so the volatility of this system. And I'm highlighting for you what Mark inherited, which was
Disaster?
very difficult and challenging. This is only part of the cost that we had incurred during that time that Mark was experiencing a lot of failures and system issues. FY24 is not a year that Mark will want to remember anytime soon. But there are a lot of what was highlighted for us was that there are a lot of issues with respect to the sewer system that have been long overdue for analysis and repairs and maintenance. And the problem is that this is a unique system in that the customers that it serves are limited. And yet this sewer operations are very, very expensive. And do not be surprised when you see a continual 5-year program of upgrades and improvements to the sewer system, that the rates may not fully cover the cost of those.
And there's no way to recapture it, correct?
What do you mean recapture?
Well, or if it costs more to run the system, the folks that are using the system are not going to participate in those increases?
So there will be increases, and we are expecting that there will absolutely be sewer increases, but there's going to be a period of time where, we need to do this methodically.
Sure.
But there's a lot of repairs and maintenance that need to be done to this system that are going to be very costly. And we recognize that, the town is going to bear that cost. The customers will bear the brunt of it. And we're going to try to, phase that in as best we can. But Mark's been talking about it since he got here, and Sheila has been emphasizing the points as well, that there needs to be a concerted effort to addressing a number of the problems that we're experiencing with our sewer system. It's crucial. And,
Yeah, so step up and beyond a capital request.
correct.
I still want to see what the capital request is.
I understand, but we're talking about a ongoing maintenance. That an anticipation that the ongoing maintenance will increase, and it may increase considerably.
Well, in capital is a $200,000 for ongoing sewer maintenance,
If
which,
that's ongoing every year, why isn't that an operating?
there you go.
We could, if we could fund it. I mean, this is the first time that we've requested it.
I can tell you, we can put the line in there. It's going to be the first thing that gets cut when there's no revenue.
When there's no what in.
Or I'll say it'll be in the top 10 because there's probably a lot of lines that we'd end up having to forego. And we've had this conversation before, right?
So is this going to be something that this sewer maintenance is then going to be transitioning into operating as this ship gets righted?
That would be the goal. And in an ideal world, if we didn't have such price volatility, in an ideal world, that ongoing maintenance would start to decrease, right? If we started replacing a lot of these components in the equipment, we should be getting some extended useful life out of the repairs that we're doing. But
So is this ongoing maintenance, Mary, reflective of, is it beyond ongoing maintenance? Are there replacement dollars in this ongoing maintenance? Okay.
Yeah, so that includes, we left it broad to include a whole suite of possibilities such as pipe lining, manhole lining, hammering pipelines and manholes. So upgrades to pumps if you need them, so just.
So if we're doing an I&I inspection, we're gonna find problems.
Yeah.
And something that needs to be repaired, most likely immediately. So
Right.
we wanna have the funding to be able to, if we find a leak someplace, or
That needs to be in your budget.
manhole that's not functioning the way it should. We want to be able to do the repairs instead of,
And we want you
Just take it
to,
down.
yeah.
Yeah. a lot of these sewer systems are about 20 years old now, and they operated great when they were new, but they age quickly.
Sure.
I kind of like having that type of item as capital. Because if we don't expend it all 1 year and if we're getting it annually, if you have a big ticket issue that comes up, you still have that leftover money. From a former article.
Well, which is, there is some precedent because in the water, you know, they would put money in for, you know, when we did the, what's the name of, what was it that we redid all the
PCE.
pipes for? Yeah. And we didn't spend it, we would let it accumulate and then do a swath of piping
Yeah.
with those monies, but that had accumulated over the past 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, my question really was around, do we know for capital, right, for a true capital spend of that $200,000 that includes a replacement plus ongoing maintenance? Is it 10%, 20% of the 200,000 that's ongoing maintenance that could be palatable in the operating budget? Or do we, I guess that's what I'm trying to true up on some of this.
But it isn't available, I think that's what Mary's saying, it wouldn't happen.
What do you mean it wouldn't, the maintenance wouldn't happen, or the
Well, it's like the water
funding
mains.
wouldn't be allocated?
Right. At this moment in time, at this moment in history.
Mary, the sewer income goes right into the general fund.
Correct.
And it's not enough to offset this budget.
No.
I understand, I understand.
And there's nothing wrong with us looking at, but that's still. Never mind.
Sure.
It was a thought, but.
And the generators will save us a lot of money.
That
That's an investment piece.
And that was requested by the school. We found out after a storm last year that we weren't able to open the school or use it as an emergency shelter because we couldn't move the sewer, couldn't use the sewer system because there was no generators for it.
So are there grants for that type of thing, considering that it's open for that type of use? Has anybody?
Not sure.
I'm sorry, I missed that. I was trying to pull up the revenue. You guys had asked the question about sewer revenue. Can you see my screen?
Yep. We were asking, that if indeed the generators were added there because of the fact that they can't use the buildings in case of emergency as emergency shelters without the generators because there's no toilets if they don't have power. And I was asking if there are grants for that type of, you know, emergency need.
To purchase a generator for what, the high school?
Right,
Generators for the.
because you're using it in power outages and the generators keep the power on when the storm has knocked out the power. And people could shelter there in the event of the storm. Would that generate some kind of grant from somebody?
Or because it's they can't use the toilets because there's no power to that building.
Yeah,
So
I have no idea.
Potentially, there,
If that's something that you are looking to explore in order to have an alternative shelter, then I think we'd probably have to ask the fire department.
Just asking if they had looked into grants. There was a yes or no.
It's on the capital budget request.
But
so we're looking at those 3 sewer lift stations as part of an ARPA project. In terms of design, what do we need there?
Mhm.
And we don't know what will come out of that. Potentially, they may say, oh, you can tap into the school's generator for this purpose. So there could be some easy fixes, probably not though, because why wouldn't they have done it originally?
Right.
But so that's just getting started, that project. I think we have the first site meeting this week, actually. And part of any project we do with a consultant, we always ask them, are there grants available?
Sure, of course.
So we had our kickoff meeting and we mentioned the emergency shelter thing, so we can certainly revisit that with the consultant to see
Right.
in their experience.
And I'm not trying to add to your pile of work to get this thing done.
No, but
It was
that's a
really an
good
innocent
point.
question.
Didn't the fire department get an affordable generator? for
Yes.
this grant?
Yes.
Could be feasible.
That's
Yeah.
probably because of 911 and the rock.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
It's not
But-
impossible, let's just say
Yeah.
that.
It's
You
a
never
solve,
know
it's
until you
a
look.
solve
Don't
for,
know.
it's a solve for another problem.
Okay, and, what is this other thing, request title? What's,
That's
Oh,
the
that's
capital
just the
request
name
title,
of it.
that's the capital request title column.
oh, okay, great, so that's not anything, no.
It's in bold.
Okay, well, it is, but I'm just getting nervous, that's all. All right,
I'm good.
anybody else have any questions on water and sewer? It's always scintillating, thank you.
We so appreciate your hard work.
Right, right, and, you know,
Anybody else like hard copies of?
No.
I'll take one. You made them, give them to me, well, and somebody will want it.
You got them, we'll take them.
There you go. Brenda and I love paper.
Hmm.
All right, Mary, let's move on and let's discuss, our strategy going forward, for, bringing this train into the station. What do you say?
I say go for it.
Okay. So, last week, I had asked, because I asked questions that everybody loves. I asked about how we were gonna go forward so that we can satisfy the need that I think is going to be requested by the selectmen. Has the finance committee voted on these level funded or needs budgets? And, I was chatting with Mary today about how we could perhaps accomplish that goal. And it wasn't a conversation for the faint of heart, but, we have got, not that many for, departments to do. The biggest one, I think, is facilities, is going to be a big one, and the schools. Schools are coming on the
60% of the budget, not
right,
not
but,
too much, but.
but we have got,
We have a lot of
we have gotten some tip off.
Yeah.
We're gonna go to the meeting on the 20th, or at least have the opportunity to listen in on them having a conversation. So the 21st, they're coming in and we'll have, right, wrong, or indifferent, we'll have heard them out, right? And, at that point in time, we will have, the only ones that we hadn't really, had is some ones that Mary and Al have been working on. And hopefully that we're going to be, December 3rd, but I'm hopeful that we can get those, teed up ahead of time and add those into other meetings.
So on the Thursday of this week, we've got a half a dozen people coming in. Doesn't that wrap up the budgets, or are there, we have harbor master, HR, regional dispatch coming in on this Thursday?
Yes, so we
We're talking
also,
about December 3rd.
these were, Mary, do you have the December 3rd? I can look it up here.
I
and
was just looking.
Lynn,
I'll pull, hang on, I'm gonna pull it up right here and we're gonna show you what's remaining.
Yeah,
But
that-
the short answer is no, there are still additional departments that need to come before you guys. Let me just sort by.
Yeah, employee benefits.
That's all, Al.
There's the thing Linda sent one out, here it is, revised updated meeting schedule.
It changed.
that-
Life insurance, Medicare.
well, this was kind of the conversation.
So
Okay,
I have that on the 19th, so on the 14th, we have, like I said, we have regional dispatch, the historical commissions, human resources. And then facilities on the 19th and municipal services on the 19th. 21st is public schools. And then December 3rd, retirement of debt, employee benefits, life insurance, Medicare. property and liability insurance and transfers.
So
And the fifth is the.
let me define the problem. The problem is that we need to get through all of this and start looking at doing votes on level service or level funded and needs. So that when Rainey goes into the selectmen on the 9th, he has gotten our votes or as best we can do with that.
So will he present what he feels is a balanced budget on the 9th?
To the selectmen.
He has to.
He has to.
Yes, but we will be looking at voting his recommendations ahead of that. Because the selectmen have in the, as far as past practice goes, they will look at him and before they will particularly deliberate, their first question has been the last few years, what does the finance committee say about
We're gonna
this?
see his recommendations. And then vote.
Oh, we're gonna have to do it based on his recommendations,
Thank
yeah. Yeah. And, on the balanced budget, so that there is going to be two budgets, a balanced budget and, the needs budget. A minus B equals C,
Non-balanced without our input, please.
right?
Well, I would think. Just human nature being what it is, well, all right, I guess what we're gonna do is. Force the issue by saying this budget's balanced. And this budget's balanced, but only with an override. Is that what we're saying?
I don't
Yes.
think-
And you
Yes,
vote for one or you vote for two?
Yes,
yes,
Okay,
Wait a minute, hold it,
it's a lot, don't worry, it's a lot.
No,
it hurts.
but I wanna make sure I understand it. So are we voting on the level funded?
That would be the balanced budget with no override. And on the needs list, if that number, which it appears from our conversations that we've been having for the last couple of months, that number would be higher than level funded plus 2.5.
But it wouldn't necessarily include everything that's been asked.
No, that's the
Let's say there's
conversation,
12 new positions, it may include 3 this year
yes,
and maybe 3 next year,
and we will have to
whatever.
make a determination when we're looking at voting those departments. Mary's creating a spreadsheet that breaks it out. It's not just gonna be the 2 lines, salaries and expenses. It's going to be a listing of what the expenses are, and so we have a compare and contrast. And we're gonna have to offer an opinion.
but we will show the town.
Yep,
On the town meeting floor,
yes,
we will show the town a balanced budget.
yes.
And
And what that means.
how will we introduce the second budget?
We
In
will not
article?
have an opportunity to introduce the second budget unless the select board puts an article at town on the floor for an override.
So we've got the warrant in front of us, we got the budget, and we're working through the budget, and we're working through the warrant.
Yeah.
And at what point does this article for the override come up? We've already voted the budget? We've already done Article 5, 6, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
We've already voted it.
And it'll have consequences. They'll know if they vote that teachers will be let go. That we won't be able to do this, we won't be able to do that, we won't have the same service levels. And so that's what you're willing to sacrifice those things, and you vote for it.
But be very clear, we will at town meeting need to have a approval of an override budget. We will need to have the approval
Approval of who?
of the amount, of an override. We would have
But
to approve
who's gonna approve it?
town meeting and then a vote at the ballot. Vote.
No, but
All right, I'm not
Selectmen-
understanding the
Selectmen have
question.
to be willing to put it on the warrant,
I
more
understand.
discussion. As an option.
So you wanna know if we have to vote level funded and an override budget vote?
I mean, us.
so there's,
The town.
so
Mary.
JR, there's a couple of ways to accomplish that. I think we might be getting a little ahead of ourselves. we were trying to just work out the logistics of how you guys were gonna do your votes. In the next couple of weeks, but so one method of bringing this type of question forward to town meeting is a single approach within one article. So traditionally, the operating budget has been Article 5 for the community, and it has been an omnibus budget. There is an approved approach that you could, in Article 5, have our traditional omnibus budget and then have an additional column next to it. So we would basically have a base budget, which would be the level funded recommendation. And then the second column would be the contingent appropriation, which would be the additional funding added to that line item if the override should pass.
Well, we don't
Okay.
want to have to go back to another town meeting
No,
and redo this fun game again.
no, I just wanted to know how,
Yeah.
and then Mary explained.
Okay, so the challenge. Yep, go ahead. Were you gonna say something?
No, I don't know where that came from.
Probably Ted, challenge is that between now and December 9th, we have to finish meeting with all of these people, and the reason I was kind of singling out Al on, and Mary on those, retirement of dead employee benefits, those really aren't debatable, that's just enough, that's a bill that's gonna get delivered. So we should be able to go through that. And I'm gonna make sure that when we have the availability to fit those in after Al and Mary have met, which they will set up.
That's on the schedule for Monday, unless Mary changes it to another time.
Mary, were you changing that meeting with Al on Monday? He says he's-
I'm not planning on, I have to look, I have 7 meetings booked for Monday, so I am not planning on changing because I think 3 of those are with you, Al, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so we can start fitting in those budgets as time permits.
So the only budget we're gonna vote is the level funded plus 2.5.
No,
Man, it's raining.
Okay.
no, we're gonna do both of them.
Okay,
We're going to do level funded plus 2.5 so that he has a
Okay.
balanced budget to present. And then we are going to also make our recommendations on needs.
But what is, we know, that's fine, except that there were some departments that came in under the level funded, right?
Yep.
I mean, how, and maybe I shouldn't get into the weeds with that, but it seems to me that there has to be some kind of a true up between the pool of money that may not be in a 2.5%, right? That would be available to move to a department that has larger needs.
Yes, and that
Okay.
will have, one of the things that I think has taken place, when the department heads have presented to us, is this is not a comfortable situation that they're in. They've never been asked to do this. And they have done, their best that they can. I have noticed, and I'm sure you have noticed, that many of our department heads came in and said, well, the dues went up on this and the fee went up on that. But I just put in what we did last year, even though they know that the actual cost for this is going to be something above that. So Mary is taking on the unenviable task of going through all of the level funded budgets to make sure that they reflect the overhead that is necessary for those departments. So it's a more accurate number.
But that, just so follow up on what you were saying, that is, the 2.5% doesn't apply to every department.
No.
It applies to the overall budget.
Yes.
So if
That's
somebody
right.
comes in at 1% and someone comes in at 3%, and it comes out to 2.5% overall, then we're good.
And that's gonna be the town manager's job
Yeah, right,
as
yeah.
he presents a balanced
So it
budget.
doesn't
It is a
really-
balanced budget based on the aggregate,
Got it.
not on the individual.
Right.
And then we move on to column A. I do not feel as though, and Mary, I believe, had agreed, or maybe Mary didn't feel and I agreed, one or the other. That we are not gonna do all of level funded and then and then start again at the top. We're gonna take it department by department, look at it. This is the level funded recommendation. This is their needs list and discuss it, vote column A, column B. So that by the time we get to the end of it, there will be a number that we can then, with some degree of confidence, Rainey can go to the selectmen and say, you know, we need an article for an override for X amount.
Hey, Mary?
Yep.
So in the spreadsheet that you're working on right now.
Yep.
That, where does that stand? With all the departments that are reported thus far? What percentage of people is the override? What percentage would it be? Not necessarily the dollar amount, but how much more than the 2.5% are we looking at right now?
So I cannot answer that question yet because I still have 4 more departments to input, which are some of the bigger ones. So I can't answer that question right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now to the scheduling part. So we have, as far as our meetings go, right? We've got next week, the 19th and the 21st. 21st is the schools, so I don't think we're gonna probably get much else in that night. Maybe a couple of little ones like Mary and Al, we can sneak in, but you know, what else?
Yeah, I think it'll be easy enough for me to do all of those budgets on the 21st, right after the school.
Right, right. The
Thanksgiving.
19th, we were not going to meet the week of Thanksgiving. But we are going to have to schedule another meeting in there for just in cases. Because
The Tuesday
we have to
before.
get it done before.
The Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
The 26th?
So it's either the 26th or we meet the 3rd, 4th and 5th the following week. And I don't care one way or another. I mean, you know, 20 people are coming to my house on Thanksgiving. They're gonna eat no matter what I put in front of them, so it'll all
And the
work.
college kids won't be home yet.
College kids won't be home again.
I mean.
So how many people would be willing to come in on the 26th as opposed to meeting 3 nights in a row?
I want the 26th.
Okay, so we've got a quorum. All right, so Linda, could you host a new meeting for the 26th for us?
So,
And it's called, the agenda item is omnibus FY26 budget.
And
week after Thanksgiving, we'll still be meeting Tuesday and Thursday.
Tuesday and Thursday, but we're with the hope that we can, you know, move forward and have enough time so that we have all of these recommendations in. So that when Randy goes to the 9th to the selectmen, he can say that he has our recommendations.
He goes to them on the 9th of December.
Yep. And that is by statute. That's the bylaw. He has no latitude on that. He can't delay that.
You know, which I wish we had a little bit more time.
Well, we've
There's every
discussed in
year
other
you
years
go to town meeting.
that instead of having it be a 90-day look back from town meeting, that it could be a 60-day look back or something to give us some more time. But that has not been accomplished. So this might be a teachable moment. So there you
We
have it.
got a lot at risk here. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know what else to
there
do
is a
though.
lot at risk. If we don't put together something that's coherent for the voters, they'll just say no.
Exactly right. And the schools have.
Yeah.
They have made their case.
They haven't voted yet, though.
They'll have voted.
It may
it,
not be 8.5, but it'll be more than 2.5.
The 20th, I don't know if they will be voting on the 20th or not. But they are going to be discussing it on the
And
20th.
if they don't vote it, and we have to vote it, they haven't voted it yet.
Well, we will have to make a recommendation on the school budget. Yes, on the 26th. or on when we're doing it, yeah.
And they can decide what they do with the money we give them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's not a, well, I won't go there.
Well, and it's also, it's not March first either. You know,
Not,
this.
not to drag this conversation out anymore. but-
Yeah, we have to make we have to
Help me here.
abide by the statute, and then we have until our town meeting if we needed to revisit.
The
it.
day I'm gonna start voting. What's gonna be put in front of me? What I have, what I know now is option 1 and option 2.
Right,
Let's pick a hypothetical budget. I don't care what you wanna call it. They were here today. We'll pick on conservation. And they have their level plus 2.5 is $100,000.
mhm.
And what they really want is 120. Right?
And
I'm
no,
making this up. This is not a real budget. This is Conservation, let's call it XYZ department. They have level funded plus 2.5 is 100. The wish list is 125
Mhm.
to add a person, whatever. So we're gonna see that when we vote.
Mhm.
Now, town manager has recommended one or the other,
or he's going to have a recommendation for
hybrid.
both.
or he could, take part of it.
Yeah.
Which this was, they
No,
all,
he's gonna have a
over
recommendation.
12.5.
He's gonna have a recommendation to accomplish level funded to a balanced budget with no override or no additional funds. And he is going to have a recommendation based on the needs. He's going to
I
have two
guess the question
recommendations.
is, when we're done voting, what he presents in front of us, will there won't be one budget, there'll still be two. There'll be the level funded and its consequences, and there'll be what he recommended that may have a little more extra money in.
Right,
So there'll just be those two budgets.
and it will.
It will not be just one,
Because
two combined.
we need a path forward if there is no override. We need an approved path forward.
So which one goes on the ballot first? On the warrant first?
That's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
That's what Mary just said, that Article 5 will have all of the budgets at level funded plus 2.5. And then at the
A
end of
separate
that,
column,
a separate column.
which will go down and will say, we get to
which
my
the
ABC,
county-
my theoretical one, and it says, okay, you can vote 100, or you can put in
You can either,
1250 extra.
yeah. Right.
And it
And
will
each
also,
line will be voted that way. And at the bottom, you come up with what was a balanced budget, now it's an unbalanced budget, so you have to have an overall.
So at the town meeting, the town will vote whether it's on the ballot.
Exactly.
Yep,
So it has to be a warrant article for
So,
the town to
so,
vote
but I
on.
mean, the 200 people or 300 people that come to the thing, they're gonna decide.
or there'll be.
plus, but it has to go
Well,
to the
wait,
ballot too.
yeah,
It has to go to the ballot too, and I
Yeah,
think
the
that if
ballot.
the schools,
It's gonna be on the ballot, no matter.
it won't
yes,
be two
No
hundred
matter what's
people.
voted.
If the schools are
Only
involved,
an
it's not
over-
gonna be 200
There's
people.
no override, there's no ballot question.
The selectmen have to approve
You know,
the request for an override. This will not go anywhere.
so no
without
one's
the
gonna
select-
vote on the override at the town meeting.
Yes, they are.
They'll vote on
Because
it
we have to put it on the ballot.
to decide if we'll go on the ballot.
Right.
Okay.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yes, because we need, if indeed there's an override, a successful override, you need a yes vote at town meeting and a yes vote at the ballot. Mary,
Who brings the article for the override?
the selectmen.
So maybe we should just talk about this at another time. I think I'm getting too into the weeds.
Yeah.
I think we're borrowing from a future
I
problem.
don't know.
The problem on the table right now is to finish reviewing these budgets
Mhm.
and make a recommendation for what a level funded or a balanced budget would look like. And what we think would be a good idea for needs, real needs.
So Betsy, I have to comment that your discussion that you just had at FinCom went very much like the discussion we had this afternoon, trying to work out these very same logistics. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, just to illustrate JR's question. And friend has been articulating a description of it. This is an option for how it may appear at town meeting. So this column here would be the balanced budget, the one we can afford within our existing revenues, which will have some consequences and some pain. And then this column here would be the increment, oh, you may make that a little bit bigger?
No, that's fine. I got closer.
Okay. And
Works the same way.
this column here would include the incremental addition that is being recommended to get closer to the needs budget. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Get closer to the needs budget, but it's not the needs budget.
Well,
It depends on what the town manager's ultimate recommendation comes out.
Gotcha.
And
Gotcha,
so
okay.
you've heard a lot of requests made from a lot of departments. I'm gonna be honest with you. It is unlikely that we will be recommending to support all of those requests.
Right, okay, got it, I got it. So that's the making of the sausage.
right, and that's the number that the selectmen are going to say to Rainey when he's trying to make this presentation, and I think it would be great if we could all, or as many of us possible, be there for when he made that. They're going to say, what did finance committee think of this line item? It's going to be a lot more in-depth than typically is when he's making this presentation to them.
Okay, so, yeah,
What-
so now-
I get this now.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's very helpful, Mary. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
okay, you got it. I can forward out that document and you can read that whole section if you'd like. I'll send that out to the committee tonight. And then just one last illustration if I can. Can you see my screen? I now have an Excel spreadsheet with a couple of highlighted columns here.
Not yet.
That's changed.
Oh, okay, let me get back to the share feature. Let's try this. Okay, that.
Yeah,
I got it.
Okay, so what you're gonna get from me as soon as I'm done is you're gonna get a workbook that has 2 sheets. This one here is the detailed breakdown of the budget. So every line item that you guys have ad nauseum gone through with every single department, that's in here. And there's thousands and thousands of lines of detail. And the town manager is going to be going through and putting together his recommendations for the option 1 and the option 2, the incremental column that we just talked about. And then you guys are going to receive that. And you guys are going to go through and do the same thing to determine whether you agree with the town manager's recommendation for a level funded budget and what you agree with for an option 2 recommendation. All of this detail here gets rolled up into what looks like our very familiar omnibus budget. And those recommendations will link in here as well. So this is basically the level of detail that will be presented to town meeting as they are used to. And then we will have 2 columns that will have the town manager's recommendation and the finance committee's recommendation, and then the contingent appropriation. So you're going to be receiving from me this, which is I'm populating these columns here based on all of your conversations. And once I finish those remaining departments, I'll get this out to you.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Thank you, Mary.
That's a lot of work. I mean, there's a lot of time.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, which is the scheduling of, like, we do need at least 1 extra meeting to
Yeah.
get him to the night.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Do you
If
think
we
2
can't
hours?
get through it, then we say
Well,
we're gonna have to have another meeting.
I'm wondering if some of those meetings that we have scheduled, if we're gonna need, if we need all that time for some of these other things that are on those meetings. I mean, like if you take the 3rd,
Right.
you have retirement debt, employee benefits.
Not a
life
lot of
insurance,
conversation.
Medicare,
No,
yeah, I
those
mean,
are bills that are due.
We could almost vote them on the spot.
yeah, so I mean, if those, so that's actually a night too. So you have. the
That's
night
why
before
we're gonna
Thanksgiving.
integrate the 3rd back into the others. We're
Oh, good,
gonna
good,
push
good.
those back and add them. I'm gonna make sure that the agenda will allow us to add those into other evenings.
Okay.
Because they're bills that are due, basically.
Some are pretty straightforward.
And just
Some will
open
be a
up
lot
the 3rd
more
for a
complicated.
continued conversation.
Right,
Okay,
I think
so
the only
then
one that's
they'll
gonna
give
have
us-
more
then
of a
they'll give us 3
conversation
meetings to go through all the.
is the employee benefit one. Will probably have a little more, because there's some changes coming to Medicare and you know, blah, blah, blah. But the rest of them are pretty much a bill that's due.
Not to bring up another
Oh,
issue.
Sure, you go.
We do this exercise.
Yep.
And we squeeze out of option two everything we can.
Mhm,
It does result in a request for override
mhm.
of a modest sum of money. Something that most people might be able to live with. But if we've done it this way, next year, we're gonna be back to another override. When does this conversation come around? What can we do to give us a 5 or 10 year fix to this problem? So that we can, when does that conversation happen? So that may be part of the conversation we can share with town meeting.
Are we still doing duct tape budgeting, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's.
Kicking the can down the road, and when we know we're gonna be short again and again and again, because we're just barely squeaking by and we're adding what we need to really keep it going. And adding again, every time there's an override, another override.
Well, I don't know what the override requests that the selectmen are gonna, if
I
they,
realize that.
they may decide that it is in their best interest or in the town's best interest to, because the override doesn't mean you're going to spend it.
Well,
It just allows
This
you.
raises the
Come
cap,
on, the
right?
override means we're gonna spend it.
Yeah, eventually,
Over
but
time.
It's my
I'm
Christmas
just,
fund, right?
I'm
It's
just-
gone. Fine.
We did $1 million 35 years ago.
But does this, let's say we go the level 2 budget.
Yep.
Okay. Will that vote that we take at the ballot box, will that add to our levy? Is our levy,
the
will our
levy is reset,
reset forever and ever?
yes,
Yes.
So that's your,
but he doesn't think it's enough. He
well,
doesn't think
my
that it
concern
will
is-
sustain.
My concern is we're looking at it on an annual basis, where we're gonna have to keep going back to
because we know
ourselves
that
every
2.5
year to get another.
2.5 isn't gonna cover. our
500 next
costs.
year, 750
Right,
next
and-
year,
and-
I
whatever.
think even if you just take what the people have submitted for their level budgets, it's gonna be over the 2.5%.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah,
we already need the override just to get.
Just to get to.
I'm not looking to anger the entire population at me. I'm not trying to make everybody feel like, well, this is a joke. The point is, we have an opportunity here. We don't want to abuse it. And people will not, we will not run out. We never, the history is not, we've had room under our cap for years. It's just the expenses have caught up. So if you do make an adjustment to that cap, you can live under it for quite a few years before it catches up to you again, in my opinion.
I agree with you.
We'll find out.
Yeah, absolutely.
and that will be up to the selectmen to make that determination as to the number. You know, if the minimum, if they decide to do option 2, the minimum necessary would be X, and if they want to do a longer term, that would be longer.
Al.
I'm sorry, Al.
Just to.
The accountant speaks, turn around.
The 20,000 foot level.
Yeah.
I think the point that Frank is making is very important. But
Yes.
here's the problem that's going to stick in our front.
Could you speak up a little? I think you're a little quiet for the mic.
We're looking primarily at revenue generated, cash flow generated within our town. Okay, 2 things. Number one, without getting into a lot of detail, there's a certain amount of political uncertainty at both the state and national level.
Sure.
So from a big picture point of view, immediately, I'm looking at the sort of the globe, you know, here we are in the town of Duxbury and dealing with this. And not wanting to have to come back on a repeated basis. So how do you deal with that if you want to use a number like 5 years to project what should be the level of that differential so that you don't have to do it in years 2, 3, 4, and 5? That's the tough one. That's the tough one. But I think we need to be cognizant here and now that if we go to that, we need to have a really robust discussion to say, all right, when everything is settled out, we're gonna come down a very thorough process, and I really kudos for laying this out. So Reed does his job and says, okay, I'm taking a look at both of these things, and he basically is gonna do a hybrid. And then we're gonna do the same thing on top of his. And then we're all gonna come together with Board of Selectmen, Finance Committee, etc. So we'll put a ribbon around that to give to the town. Then the uncertainty comes in. What the heck do you say and how do you project? And to pick up on Friend's point, you don't want to abuse going to the town and saying, we wanna come through and put this on the ballot more than once? I don't have an answer for that.
I don't need it.
Sean's hand is up.
Oh, Sean, go ahead.
No?
My hand's not up, but thank you, friend.
All right, wait anyway. Hi, Sean.
We were hoping your hand was up, Sean.
Harry?
Yeah,
Mary's, yeah,
No.
Mary,
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 get the mute.
it's time for Mary to go to bed.
We up?
We adjourn.
I do too, because I think our brain power has expired.
Second,
All right, all those in favor, Chuck,
Chuck, I.
J.I.
Brenda, I.
Betsy, I,
Kathy and I.
Teddy,
John, I.
John, I, Teddy,
Aye.
Teddy, I, great. Okay, thanks, Ted.